I'm Darren.
And I'm Doogie.
And we're looking at the real sequels. The series of books, novels, and sometimes comics that were released after episode 6 that are now no longer canon, but they are always canon in our hearts.
Well, Darren, as you know, there's always a little bit of truth in legends. Wipes away tear. Master Fey'lya. Genuinely, if I ever meet him, I won't call him Mr. Fey'lya, I'll call him Master Fey'lya.
Senpai Fey'lya.
Stop making it weird.
Dig is a full body pillow of
I do not.
Dave Filoni.
No, I don't.
With a cowboy hat.
I do have a cowboy hat, but the rest is lies. Lies. Deception.
So today we're looking at episode 8. Sorry, chapter 8.
We can look at episode 8 if you want. If you want to sit here for 3 hours.
No. Well, we'll do a review at some stage, probably. Maybe.
Can you be bothered?
No, it's probably been flogged to death, but...
I just don't care.
I don't have the strength. I've seen this raw shiteness once before. So yeah, we're looking at chapter 8 this week. There's a lot going on in chapter 8.
So yeah, chapter 8 opens in Grand Admiral Thrawn's command room on the Chimera. And as you remember, it's filled with art. So it's Thrawn, Pellaeon, and C'Baoth in the command room. And C'Baoth is over looking at some pieces of art. And Pellaeon is giving a briefing. Basically, the report of the mission that we just read about. Well, you didn't read, we read about. In chapter 7, how the Noghri attacked Luke and Leia on Bimms, but they failed. And they were all killed except the coordinator. So Thrawn's listening to Pellaeon, and then he says, very well, any report from Wayland. And at this point, C'Baoth turns around and interrupts and says, is that it? Mission failed, too bad, let's move on. You promised me Jedi. And Thrawn addresses C'Baoth with a cold stare and just says, completely calm, I promised you Jedi, and you will receive them. And then deliberately turns back to Pellaeon and then says, any news from Wayland? And so Pellaeon starts talking about how the engineers looked over the schematics for the cloaking technology, and they said it seems to be complete, but it'll probably take some time to actually build a cloaking machine, especially if they want something the size of the Chimera. And Thrawn replies, well, that's okay, because they won't need anything quite that large yet. So here's my plans for what I want them to build, and for the attack on Sluis Van. And Sluis Van is a shipyard that the New Republic are using to build their ships. So Pellaeon takes that, and Thrawn says that for the attack on Sluis Van, they will also need mining equipment, these things called mole miners. And Thrawn tells Pellaeon to have intelligence start digging through the records to see if they can find these mole miners, because they're going to need about 40 of them for the attack.
I smell a Lando. The most important man in the history of Star Wars.
Well, he really is, because he stops the fleet of Super Death Star destroyers.
Superstar Death Star destroyers. Destroy stars.
The Super Death Star destroyers.
Mm-hmm.
And Lando is literally the most competent man in the galaxy, as seen by episode 9.
Yeah. Competent and charismatic. He's let's take down these Zeistons.
Yeah, because literally the entire plot of episode 8 is just, we put out a call for help, and no one came.
Lando's yeah, it's me again.
I do, it is my personal headcanon that Lando just seduces the entire galaxy into coming and helping.
Over a Tannoy.
Yeah.
An Asda Tannoy.
Yeah. No, it's hollow projection of old Lando just standing there, hands on hips, come on.
Unbuttoning his shirt.
Yeah. Cape blowing in the wind.
You scruffy looking nerf herder. I'm in.
So, after Thrawn says this to Pellaeon, Pellaeon says, well, the only other thing is that the engineers have reported that 80% of the Sparty cylinders seem either operational or can easily be made operational with some minor repairs. And C'Baoth interrupts at this point to say, what are Sparty cylinders? And Thrawn quickly replies saying, oh, they're just another piece of little technology that I was hoping would be in Mount Tantus, and he deflects and shoots a warning look at Pellaeon. And in the book it says, an unnecessary precaution. Pellaeon had already decided that discussing Sparty cylinders with C'Baoth would not be the smartest thing to do. So why do you bring them up? He brought them up to Thrawn while C'Baoth was just sitting there.
I've got 3 words. Best and brightest.
He's certainly earning the potato today. But yeah, so Pellaeon, seeing Thrawn's disapproving look, quickly moves on and says, well, the defences at Mount Tantus seem mostly operational. Some systems have sort of declined, but 3 of the 4 reactors are now online again, and it looks like what's remaining should be more than enough to defend the mountain if it ever comes under attack. And Thrawn is yes, this is good news.
So that's their new base then?
Mm-hmm. It seems kind of like it's Thrawn, as far as I know, Thrawn basically lives on the Chimera.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're turning Mount Tantus into more of a base. Thrawn then says for Pellaeon to tell Mount Tantus to expect a shipment of specialists, and that they will be bringing 200 Ysalamir to Mount Tantus.
Oh, here, top tip, by the way.
Oh, yes.
So I was looking at it, it was it turns out Ysalamir and Ysalamiri are both things, but Ysalamir is the Legends canon, and Ysalamiri are current canon.
Where did you read this?
The source of all knowledge, Diggy. The Wikipedia. That's the thing, because I've definitely seen it written down. I was I swear I've seen it written down, Ysalamiri.
I wonder then, because Thrawn is in Rebels, I wonder does it maybe come up there, and he says Ysalamiri?
Maybe, yeah. And then they had the the voice actor read it as Ysalamiri, and was they were ugh. Here we go, fixing stuff again. Had to release a whole new companion guide.
Well, that's how they make their money now.
Oh,
just
tomato, Korriban, Moraband.
Yeah, because they're just repackaging Legends material and selling it as new canon. Because why make something new when you can just sell the same stuff again? So Thrawn then says, well, once we get Mount Tantus fully operational, we can begin in earnest with our campaign against the rebellion. It's going to be a long path, but this is the start of it, basically, with Sluis Van and what's going on in Mount Tantus. And then Thrawn also says to Pellaeon to contact the Noghri Team 4 and to dispatch them to attack and try and capture Luke and Leia again. And C'Baoth interrupts again at this point and says, how many teams of Noghri are you going to send until you realise that they're no match for Jedi? I should go myself. Basically, he's making the argument that only a Jedi can fight a Jedi. So C'Baoth is talking about leaving, and Thrawn and C'Baoth get into a heated kind of debate about C'Baoth made promises to us. Is a Jedi Master going to break his word? And C'Baoth is well, those promises were made on the promise that you would deliver Jedi, and you aren't delivering the Jedi. And Pellaeon cuts in and says,
they call me the mailman because I always deliver.
Yeah, well, I don't know how to continue from that. So yeah, Pellaeon, he cuts in and says, well, why can't we do both? What if we start spreading rumours that C'Baoth is located on some planet, a more sparsely populated planet, where it's possible that he could have been hiding for years, in an effort to try and draw Luke and Leia, or both of them, in. So we can be doing that, and then in the meantime, C'Baoth can still help with the operations, because Thrawn was saying that C'Baoth was needed for the upcoming Sluis Van attack and all the preparations for that as well. So that's Pellaeon's like compromise, and C'Baoth then says, yes, that seems like quite a good idea. I will take my leave and start thinking about what planet we will start spreading these rumours from. So C'Baoth leaves. After he leaves, Thrawn says, congratulations, Pellaeon. It seems that Master C'Baoth quite liked your idea. And Pellaeon says, I'm sorry if I spoke out of turn, Admiral. And Thrawn replies saying, I have no qualms about accepting a useful idea merely because it wasn't my own. My position and ego are not at stake here. Trying to make the point that, like, you know, I'm not Darth Vader. You know, I'm not going to punish you for having a good idea.
This is the way.
Kind of thing.
Pellaeon was standing there with his choke chain ready to go, being like, oh crap, here we go.
As we were saying, Pellaeon, he's such a complicated man, because he'll do something stupid, like mention the Sparty cylinders in front of C'Baoth, even though he's already thought, I shouldn't mention these in front of C'Baoth. But then he'll also come up with a great solution to the argument between Thrawn and C'Baoth, all in the same chapter. So I do kind of like it in that sense, that he's clearly not super competent at everything. He doesn't just get everything right, but he's also not bad. You know, he can have a good idea and stuff, and it just makes it more realistic.
Yeah, and I think that kind of shows like the difference between the Empire. Like, oh my goodness, here we go. Here's a different Empire. Here's not exactly the same thing thrown back at you, but with bigger guns. You know, this is an empire of growth, and kind of where it encourages people. Because, I mean, any other kind of Imperial officer doesn't really get that much growth in any of the movies or any of the background kind of stuff, because it is kind of like, if you fail, you die. Whereas this, you know, and rightly so, like Pellaeon's kind of standing there being like, oh crap. Because he had two shots there. One completely flopped with the Sparty, and the other one, you know, he succeeded, and he's allowed to kind of succeed, fail, try things, you know. And I think that's going to add to his character as we go along. You know, you're going to get that kind of nice bending arc of like, hang on, this guy who started off as, you know, a bumbling buffoon is now, you know, he's a proper badass, but he's earned his right to be a badass, you know, and he's like Thrawn's rubbing off on him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like, I think that's genuinely like his character arc. I think I mentioned it in a previous episode on that, and like you see that over the decades, like in the universe, decades throughout all the books, you see Pellaeon grow, and I do think he wouldn't become that man if it wasn't for having Thrawn as like a teacher and a guide almost.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine Pellaeon would be the kind of like traditional stuck in his ways kind of Imperial officer, where he wouldn't think about ever trying to like experiment and grow and stuff.
Yeah.
Because
if you feel, you die.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, even in these first few chapters, he does start off like that. He's very rigid. He's very kind of like, he just can't believe things. Everything's has a black and white answer, you know.
Mm-hmm. And he's starting to loosen up a bit, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But yeah, that's where that scene ends. And this chapter yet, the final kind of section of it, finishing off the chapter, we smash cut to Han, Leia, Mon Mothma, Admiral Ackbar, and Borsk Fey'lya in like a sort of semi-informal council meeting. Basically, again, recapping what happened on Bimms. And again, Borsk and Admiral Ackbar are kind of having a heated kind of debate, because Borsk is telling off Han for cancelling the mission on his own authority, not consulting anyone or getting like permission or anything. And Borsk is like, this is going to damage our negotiations with the Bimms. And Admiral Ackbar is taking Han's side and stepping in and saying, no, his duty was clear. You know,
it was clearly a trap.
Yes, it was. And yeah, he was saying like, Han did the right thing because his duty was to protect the diplomat and bring them home safely to us and inform us of the situation and all this kind of stuff. And again, Borsk and Ackbar are going back and forth, and And Borsk is kind of saying, well, these grey-skinned aliens, they don't appear in any records from the Empire or the Old Republic. Clearly such an insignificant species are not really that much of a threat. And Leia is kind of chirping in at bits and saying, well, they might have been removed from the archives and stuff. But again, Borsk is trying to say, what reason would anyone have for trying to hide these people? And he's Borsk again is displaying his kind of politics and kind of cunning and stuff, and his political maneuvering and things throughout this conversation, just to contrast Ackbar of a straightforward, what you would expect an admiral to be, just a straightforward, says what he means, and he's not trying to sort of maneuver or spin things in certain ways and stuff. And again, it's Mon Mothma is brings it to a stop and says to Han and Leia, Admiral Ackbar will arrange an escort for you and you'll go back to Bimms tomorrow. And Han and Leia are kind of well, actually, we were wanting to talk about sort of a leave of absence for a while because, Leia wants to continue her Jedi training, and Mon Mothma is I'm sorry, we really can't right now. There's just too many urgent matters to deal with. Maybe in a year or so, when we've had time to train more diplomats, maybe then we can give you time.
Might give you a week off in between that, to have your kids.
Well, yeah, exactly.
No biggie.
And Mon Mothma, she's I understand, we need more Jedi, but we just can't lose you at the minute. Her diplomatic skills are just far too valuable to the fledgling New Republic.
We need your sass.
Yeah.
We can't do without your sass.
Please, Carrie Fisher, don't. You're our only hope. So when Mon Mothma says all this, there's awkward silence for a bit, and then she's well, if there's no other contributions, we'll bring this meeting to a close, and that's it. It's decided. I love Han's basically his final line in this chapter, and it's Han talking to Leia, and he says, it was a lot easier when we were just taking on the Empire. At least then we knew who our enemies were. And he throws a glare over at Borsk after he says that, to just highlight again, as you were saying before in a previous episode, how the New Republic is not one coherent force. It's split up and there's all these factions, and now that they don't have the Empire, this big overarching enemy, to unite them, they are doing more infighting, and people are trying to grab more and more power and stuff. It's becoming quite clear that that's what Borsk is trying to do. He's just trying to leverage more and more authority and power for himself in the New Republic, in this new government.
Oh yeah, I mean that makes sense. It's the whole reason that SR go bang is because of Borsk's people, and it's that kind of thing of well, here we've sacrificed, and we need to get our stuff now. We've played our cards, we won the game. Now I want my money. Is that kind of thing of who's going to end up on top? That's interesting even in itself. Again, standing and talking, sitting and talking, but the Empire at the moment kind of it's small, but it has one mind, one unquestionable mind. And as Thrawn says himself, my position's not in threat. He's completely 100% with what he's doing, whereas the New Republic isn't. It's a democracy, and they're all infighting for their own people's stuff.
I get what you're going for, Darren. Tyrannical dictatorships all the way.
Absolutely. It just works.
That's the thing. It does. It genuinely does.
I'm sure Pellaeon's absolutely crapping it though.
Why?
Because he's walking about that ship, and there's C'Baoth, the human time bomb.
Oh well, Thrawn has Ysalamari all over his ship.
Oh.
I think I forgot to mention that. But Thrawn has put Ysalamari throughout at least his command room, but I imagine most of the ship as well, to kind of stop C'Baoth getting out of control and just doing whatever he wants.
That's bound to make C'Baoth or C'Baoth.
It's C'Baoth,
but it might be C'Baoth. Make him useless, because it's yes, I want you to use meditation, sweet, but I can't use any force because this entire place is covered in these Ysalamari. It
was probably just Thrawn's command room then. I imagine maybe there's probably parts of the ship, maybe the bridge or something, would probably have no Ysalamari to allow C'Baoth to use his like battle meditation effectively.
Beautiful. That about wraps up this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or share, like, and subscribe, whatever order you want to do it in. Just do it. Do it.
Did you say that just so you have an excuse to put Sheev
Absolutely.
into the video? Okay.
Sheevatine.
Yeah. Well,
Poppy.
let's just hope he doesn't ask for his throne back.
That reminds me we should get back to work.